Hey everyone! Welcome to another episode of English Learner Space. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Jake. We're so happy you're here with us today.
Whether you're cleaning the house, walking to work, or just relaxing, thank you for listening. This is a space where we talk about real life, real English, and how to learn in a natural, fun way.
Exactly. And today we have a super important topic that might change the way you see learning English and even your daily life.
Yeah, because today's episode is all about this idea. It's not about studying more, it's about changing your habits. Okay, so let's get real for a second. I want to share something personal with you. When I first started learning a new language, and I'm talking years ago, I had this mindset that if I just studied more, I'd improve faster. So I bought the books, signed up for online courses, made a huge study schedule. You know, the kind that looks great on paper. And for a while I followed it. Every evening after work, I'd sit down and review vocabulary. I'd listen to grammar explanations, try to memorize sentence patterns. But here's the thing. After months of doing this, I still couldn't speak comfortably. I still froze when someone asked me a question. I still had to translate everything in my head before speaking. And that was incredibly frustrating. Because I was doing the right things, right? I was putting in the time. I was being serious about learning. But the truth is, I was studying hard, not studying smart. I was treating language like a subject in school, like math or history. I thought I had to pass the test. But English, or any language, isn't just information. It's a skill, like playing guitar, or cooking, or driving a car. And the only way to get better at a skill is to practice it in real life, little by little, every day. So if you're listening right now and thinking, why am I still not fluent after all this study? I want you to know, maybe it's not about more studying. Maybe it's about changing your relationship with English. Start asking yourself, am I touching English every day, even just a little? Am I enjoying the process, or just forcing it? Am I listening, reading, thinking in English, outside of study time? Because here's what I've learned. Consistency beats intensity. Small steps, taken daily, move you forward faster than big steps taken once a week. And I'll be honest, once I stopped stressing about studying perfectly and started focusing on just living with the language, things changed. I started to relax. I remembered why I wanted to learn in the first place. And slowly but surely, the results came. So maybe you don't need to study more. You just need to study differently. And that starts with building better habits.
Thanks for sharing that, Sarah. I can totally relate to what you said. And, this is where the power of habits really comes in. Let's think about it. Most of the things we do every day, brushing our teeth, checking our phone, drinking coffee, we do almost without thinking. They're habits. Now imagine if English was one of those habits. Imagine if listening to English or reading something simple in English or even thinking in English was just part of your normal day, not something you had to force. Not something that felt like a task on your to-do list, but something that simply happens, like checking your messages or opening YouTube. That's when the real change happens. Because fluency isn't built in a day. It's built in the small choices we make again and again and again. Let me give you an example. Let's say every morning, while you're brushing your teeth, you listen to 5 minutes of an English podcast. That's it. Just 5 minutes. It sounds like nothing, right? But in a month, that's over 2 hours of English listening. without even changing your schedule. Or maybe you decide to switch your phone's language to English. Now, every time you check the weather, your calendar, your notifications, you're reading in English. These small things add up. They train your brain. And most importantly, they make English part of your world.
Yes, that's the secret. You stop studying English, and you start living with it. It's not just about the big study sessions. It's about the tiny moments, the habits that repeat every single day. Think about it this way. Your current level of English is a reflection of your current English habits. So if you want different results, you don't have to push harder. You just have to build better habits. And we're not talking about making huge changes. Start small. One new habit. One tiny shift. It could be reading a short paragraph in English before bed, or writing your grocery list in English, or watching one YouTube video a day, like this one, without subtitles. And then over time, your brain starts to adapt. Your confidence grows, and English becomes something that's not separate from your life, but something that's part of it. So instead of thinking, I have to study today, you start thinking, English is just what I do. And when you reach that point, fluency becomes a lot closer than you think.
All right, now that we've talked about the power of habits, let's talk about something just as important, the things that get in the way. The common mistakes that so many learners, maybe even you, are making without realizing it. And trust me, we're not judging. We've all been there. One of the biggest mistakes is this: waiting to feel ready before speaking. I can't tell you how many people say, "Oh, I'm not ready to talk yet. I need to study more first." But the truth is, you'll never feel 100% ready. Speaking is like jumping into a pool. You could stand on the edge and analyze the water all day long. But the only way to learn how to swim is to actually get in. You'll make mistakes. You'll forget words. You'll say the wrong thing. And guess what? That's totally fine. That's how you learn.
Yes, I love that pool example. Here's another common one: focusing too much on grammar. Now don't get me wrong, grammar is important. It helps your sentences make sense. But if you spend all your time worried about grammar rules, you start to feel paralyzed. You're afraid to speak because you don't want to make a mistake. But native speakers make grammar mistakes all the time. We say things wrong without even realizing it, because communication is what really matters. So instead of aiming for perfect grammar, aim for clear communication. If the other person understands you, you're winning. You're already succeeding. Another mistake I see a lot is people only using one method, like they only use an app, or only take a class, or only read grammar books. But learning works best when it's varied. When you mix things up, some listening, some speaking, some fun, some structure. That variety keeps your brain engaged. And it also helps you learn in different contexts, which is super powerful.
Totally agree. And let's talk about one more. This one's sneaky. Comparing yourself to others, especially online. You watch someone speaking fluently and think, wow, I'll never be that good. And then you feel discouraged. You lose motivation, but you don't know their story. You don't know how long they've been practicing. You don't know how many hours they've spent listening, speaking, and failing before they got fluent. So instead of comparing, start tracking your own progress. Celebrate the small wins. Like, hey, I understood that sentence without translating. Or, I ordered my coffee in English and didn't panic. Those moments matter. They're proof that you're moving forward, even if it doesn't feel fast.
Yes, progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, but it's still happening. So be kind to yourself. Don't let these common mistakes stop your journey. We've all made them. What matters is recognizing them and making a small change. One of the most common questions I get is, how can I make English part of my daily routine without feeling overwhelmed? And that's a great question, because let's be honest, life is busy. We work, we have families, responsibilities, distractions, and adding English to the mix can feel like one more thing on the list. But here's the good news. It doesn't have to be heavy. You don't need to study for hours. You don't need to be perfect. You just need a system that works for you and your life. Let's start simple. Look at your daily schedule. Are there any small moments that you could fill with English? Like while you're walking the dog, or washing dishes, or commuting? Those are perfect moments for passive learning. Listening to a podcast, watching short videos, even repeating a few phrases in your head. And then there's active learning. But even that can be short and sweet. Maybe 10 minutes in the morning to write a few lines in a journal, or 5 minutes at night reviewing new words you heard during the day. The key is this. Don't try to do too much all at once. Start small and build the habit. Because when something becomes part of your routine, like brushing your teeth or making coffee, it doesn't require motivation. It just happens. And that's when English starts to feel natural. Not forced. Not stressful. Just part of your life.
That's exactly it. When you try to force a big study routine into your already packed day, it creates resistance. It makes English feel like a chore, and that's the fastest way to lose motivation. But when you make it bite-sized and enjoyable, you're much more likely to stick with it, and it becomes sustainable. Let me give you an example. Let's say you love music. Why not start your day with one English song you enjoy? Try to sing along, pick out a few words, look up the lyrics. That's learning, and it doesn't feel like studying. Or if you're on social media, follow a few English-speaking creators who talk about topics you already love, like travel, food, or fitness. Now you're learning while relaxing. That's powerful. And don't forget to celebrate the small things. If you spent 5 minutes today reading a menu in English or writing a sentence, give yourself credit. You showed up. One thing I always remind my students is, progress is not about perfection. It's about showing up regularly, even if it's for a few minutes. So, instead of thinking, I have to do more, try thinking, what's one small thing I can do today in English that feels easy and enjoyable? That question alone can completely shift your routine. And trust me, consistency, even if it's light and fun, beats intensity that burns out after a week. Let's talk about one of the biggest goals most English learners have. Speaking. So many people say, I can read, I can understand, but when it's time to speak, I freeze. And I get it. Speaking can feel scary. Your mind goes blank, you forget the words, or you worry too much about making mistakes. But here's the truth, and I want you to really hear this. You don't become fluent by waiting. You become fluent by speaking, even when it's uncomfortable. And no, you don't need a native speaker to practice. You can speak to yourself out loud. Yes, it sounds a little weird at first, but it's one of the most effective ways to build confidence. Describe what you're doing. What am I doing right now? I'm making coffee. I'm adding sugar. Now I'm stirring it. It's simple, but your brain starts getting used to producing English without pressure. Another great tool is shadowing. You listen to a sentence and then repeat it immediately. This helps with pronunciation, rhythm, and sentence structure all at once. And honestly, you don't have to speak for hours. Even 5 minutes a day can change how your brain processes English. Just like going to the gym, you don't need to lift heavy every day. You just need to show up and train the muscle.
Exactly. And speaking of training that muscle, let's talk about safe spaces to speak. A lot of people are afraid of speaking because they're afraid of being judged. But there are so many ways to practice speaking where it feels fun and relaxed. One of my favorite suggestions is using language exchange apps. You can find someone who's learning your language, and they can help you practice English. And guess what? They're nervous too. So both of you are learning together, making mistakes together, and cheering each other on. Also, don't underestimate the power of talking to yourself. Yes, Jake mentioned it, but I want to say it again because it really works. Try this. At the end of your day, talk to yourself in English for 2 minutes. Say what you did, how you felt, what your plans are. Like this. Today I woke up late. I was tired. I drank coffee and read a few pages of a book. Later, I went for a walk. This kind of practice is golden. It connects your real life to the language, and that's what helps you think in English. And remember, don't wait until you feel ready. You become ready by doing. Start messy. Start nervous. Start now. So we've talked a lot about strategies, building habits, avoiding common mistakes, speaking without fear. But let's be honest, even with the best plan, there will be days when you just feel tired, unmotivated, stuck. And that's normal. Learning a language isn't a straight line. It's full of ups and downs. So how do you stay motivated when the excitement fades? Here's what I tell my students. Don't rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes. What keeps you going is purpose. Ask yourself, why are you learning English? Is it because you want to travel? Get a better job? Connect with people around the world? Watch movies without subtitles? Whatever it is, write it down. Put it somewhere you can see. Because when you have a clear why, you can keep moving forward, even when it's hard. Another tip? Track your progress. Sometimes we feel like we're not improving, but that's just because we forget how far we've come. Start a little journal. Write 1 sentence a day in English. Then look back a month later. You'll be surprised at how much better and more natural your writing feels. Small steps add up, but you have to notice them.
I love that. And I want to add something super important here. Enjoy the process. So many learners are only focused on the goal, fluency, but they forget to enjoy the journey. Think of English like a road trip. You don't just want to get to the final destination. You want to enjoy the music, the conversations, the scenery along the way. So have fun with your learning. Watch a funny YouTube video. Listen to music that makes you want to dance. Practice tongue twisters. Make mistakes and laugh about them. When learning feels like play, not pressure, you'll naturally want to do it more. Also, surround yourself with people who support you, even if it's online. Find a community. Follow creators who inspire you. Join a group or forum where people are learning too. Being part of a learning community makes a huge difference. You feel less alone, and you're reminded that progress is happening, even if it's slow. So yeah, don't chase perfection. Chase connection. Chase consistency. And don't give up. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be. You're not behind. You're not too late. You're exactly where you need to be. So keep going, and thanks so much for spending this time with us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who's also learning English. We really appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.
Bye for now.